and start recording.
It's recording now, Steve. Go ahead.
It is 7:04. I hereby call meeting to order at 7:04 of the Town of Yarmouth Accessibility Advisory Committee. Natalie, up the agenda. Thank you, Nat. I'll take a minute and give Sherry a chance to do attendance. Some will be joining us later, I guess. Sherry just wants to give me the thumbs up that she's got everybody. Okay, perfect, Sherry. Declaration of conflict of interest. We've been over this before. This is basically if you have a conflict of interest with anything on the agenda or anything brought up tonight, please excuse yourself at the time of voting. And please let one of us know. Approval of the agenda. Did everyone get a copy of the agenda?
Yes.
Not have the agenda, please speak up. Okay. Does anyone have a conflict with the agenda? Okay, the old Karen flies over there. Additions. Is there any additions to the agenda? Going through it just quickly. Any deletions? Okay, did everybody get a copy of last minute's meetings? And have you had a chance to read through it? Okay. Then I herewith, excuse my tongue here, put forth a request for approval of the minutes as they are stated for last week's meetings. Can I get somebody to vote on that?
Mr. Chair, if I may, I'll make a motion at first that we approve the agenda as presented.
Oh, yep, you're right, Dale. I apologize.
No problem.
Oh, losing my voice here. It's been one of those weeks. Request to approve the agenda as stated. Tanya, I have as one. Can I get a second? Peter as a second. Then the agenda will be approved as stated. Moving on to the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to read through last week's minutes, especially those that weren't here? Was there any questions brought up by them? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. Approval to accept the minutes from last week's meeting as stated.
So moved.
Okay, one. I need a second. Okay, somebody please second the minutes from last meeting.
Tracy is.
Okay. Moving on then. We do not, unless somebody has some input, at this time would be the typical public input session. We do not have anybody scheduled, but would anybody like to share? Maybe some things they've experienced since joining this committee. In other words, floor is open. No? Okay. Moving down to Article 8, new business. I have sent out a copy of sort of the chair's report tonight. And I will just recap, if any of you didn't get it or want another copy, that's fine. Just shoot me a message. My report tonight, as you can see, on August 30th, we met, actually met in the chambers at the town hall, which was new to me. I had never been in there before. It's a large room, nice room. We met to start going over the wording for our first document. This is still a work in progress by all means. If you have anything that you would like to share or anything you would like to put your input or would like a copy of it, please reach out to Sherry and she'll make sure you get it. Or if you think you might like to get involved in helping to word it, again, please reach out to Sherry. On August 31st, we did an interview with Tina Camo in the Vanguard. Has everyone seen that article? Is there anyone here that has not seen that article? It's a good article. Peter, you haven't seen it. Okay, did you get a copy of it? Turn your mic on. Okay, Peter didn't turn his mic on. I didn't hear a word he said. If Peter didn't get a copy of it, I'm assuring we can send it to him. You have, do we have a copy of that, Mike?
Yeah, I emailed it out to everybody. I thought everyone was on the list, but I can send it to Peter.
Okay. So there's no lack of copies. We can make sure Peter gets a copy. Also, I'm not completely sure when, but we also have a meeting coming up or an interview coming up with Y95. That's supposed to be coming up this week to talk about our upcoming public input session. And I'll keep you up to date on that when it happens or after it happens. Also on September the 7th, I was invited to essentially listen in on a meeting in BC that was a Zoom meeting, and it was basically sitting in and listening to representation, those that represent different parties in the upcoming federal elections with regards to disability issues. I'm not going to sit here and try and tell anybody how to vote. But it became very apparent when I was sitting in on that meeting who has a handle on what people with accessibility issues are facing and who does not. I have a transcript of that meeting. It's quite in length, but if you would like a copy of it, by all means, send me an email address and I will send you a copy of it. Moving on. I have tried to get together with the Splash Park as this committee has asked me to, and that has not been successful. I was due to attend a meeting with them early this week. They went and moved that appointment to a date that I could not attend. I put forth some questions and stuff like that to the committee. They've not responded back. All I do know is the Splash Park Committee is fundraising heavily. And I do know that when they build, it'll be built according to today's building code standard. Other than that, I can't bring forth any more insight. So, is there anybody here that's on that committee?
If I may, Mr. Chair, I worked with the Splash Park Committee while I was still the manager at the Mariner Center, and my daughter is actually on that committee. So
Okay.
if there's any information you require or any liaison, I'm more than happy to provide that for you.
Great. See,
I do know that for those that don't know, Linda Gallagher, who is a former teacher and was a former principal at Carleton School is the chairperson of that committee and the person that spearheaded it. So I'm sure that she'll take every bit of, give every consideration to issues of accessibility.
I had no question, Gail, that it would be. It was just with me trying to get in on those meetings, it was hit and miss, and I was missing. So
yeah, they've been very, very busy, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
They're trying to get this done for next summer. So
I appreciate that a lot. Also, moving on, as some of you may have noticed, the registration for our public input session has opened. Mike has put forth a lot of ads, both in the Vanguard. I don't know about the radio because I don't listen to it, but there are ads in the Vanguard as well as ads on Facebook. Mike did clarify some things just before the meeting tonight. When we as members register, it's going to be a little bit of a different registration process. And I'll let Mike talk about that more later. Than say if the general public registers. I found it a bit foggy when I was registering for it this afternoon. And I will add, just for people's thought and for clarity from Mike, when I registered for the event, I did not get a confirmation email that I had registered for the event. But once again, when we get to Mike, we'll talk about this more clarity. Another aspect that has come up with me over the months is people have stopped and talked to me and they're noticing the grates in the sidewalk, and I think it's great. It opens up a lot of discussion and talk about what the town is doing for persons with accessibility issues, but I'm wondering if maybe on our Facebook page, on the town page, we could do a little blurb about what these grates are for, how they work, and if you have any more questions, hey, reach out and talk to us. Because a lot of people have stopped and asked me, what are the grates for? And so maybe we can answer that question for the public. And that's all I have in the chair report. Any
perhaps,
questions?
Mr. Chair, we should answer that question for the people that are attending the meeting. Some may not know.
Yeah, some people don't, and it's a great opportunity to talk to them, but if they go looking on site, are they finding it? Are they finding their answer?
No, I just thought for clarification for the committee members that if they're not aware of the purpose of the grates, it's both a visual and a physical warning that you're stepping off a sidewalk onto the street. So it's I thought it was a really, really nice, really, really good planning that they did that at the time that they were putting the sidewalks in. And I think it answers a question that was brought to this committee by a lady, I think, who lived on Ryerson Court, who was concerned about that very thing, about there being no warning that you're leaving the sidewalk. So
I think it's brought up a lot of interesting discussions because people don't stop and it's, I guess, what I'm trying to say is it's made people stop and think.
yes.
Yes. Any other questions, comments before I move on? I see others have joined us or dropped in. Welcome. Moving on. 8, Section 8, Part B, we have workplace deliverables, courtesy of Natalie. I'll give Natalie just a moment to bring that up.
Good evening, everyone. Here's just an update of the work plan as of Friday of last week. So number one, congratulations to Francois Grandeur. He's completed his R. Rick Hansen certification, so he's now certified. So thank you, Francois, for that effort. Nothing on number 2, that was completed earlier this year. Number 3 was the statement of commitment, and I've put what that sentence is. That's what is within the accessibility action plan document that is currently under working draft, and that would then eventually be approved by council when you present the full document to them. So that's on schedule. Committee meeting, we'll be talking more about that today. And so that has been scheduled for next Tuesday. The paper handouts will start after the session, and Mike can talk a little bit more about that, where that's going to be. And I think we're on schedule for that. So that's September, and then the event report will come out in November. At this point in time, we don't see that schedule not being met. The next item is to hold the council awareness session. That's going to happen after we have the report and the little video that we'll compile from the community consultations. And as of yet, that's still on schedule. And then we talk about the actual audit. Francois will speak to this in his section, but that seems to be on schedule so far. And the accessibility plan, the document, we need to get that prepared to present back to council, a draft in January for adoption before we submit to the province in March. So right now there are no red flags. We're working through any barriers. So that's my report tonight, unless there is any questions.
Okay. No questions, concerns, thoughts, or ideas? I know Natalie and, well, everybody really has been working hard at this. Stay tuned for a copy as we get it ready of that of the wording. It's not quite up to snuff yet, but we will, in the next coming months, we'll have a draft copy of it. Moving on, we're going to go to a communications update, which is Mike. Yeah, which is Mike.
Thanks, Stephen. You pretty much covered a lot of what I was going to talk about, frankly, in your report, which is very thorough. Thanks. So my focus recently has been mainly on promoting the event, as you mentioned, through social media ads, through newspaper. We do have spots running this week on CJLS as well. That article, as you mentioned last week, I think gave us a good boost in terms of getting some attention to what the committee's goals and objectives are, and also drawing attention to the event and, beyond the event, what we'll be doing in terms of the survey and that sort of thing. So all good there. As far as the Weekender interview you mentioned, last I saw, it's still happening on the 15th, which is Wednesday, I guess. The only thing that was, I think, still up in the air was the time. I think 3:30 didn't work for somebody. Was it you, Stephen, or was it Natalie?
I think it was Stephen.
Okay.
Or
Anyway, I'll check with Wade. I sent an email to Wade asking if 1 o'clock worked, because you mentioned 1, I think, Stephen. So we just have to confirm that time. So that's still happening, and that will give us a good spot, a boost on Sunday, just leading into the event. So that's going to be great as well. So the push will be to continue to push the registration. In terms of the sign up, I'm not sure. I think I have to talk to Alan, honestly, about whether or not people who, if you're already a member, if you're already signed up, when you went to sign up for the event, Stephen, did you just log in first and then register for the event that way? Because you already would have been signed up for Hoppin', right?
okay. I'm not going to comment because, like was said earlier, it's different for us when we sign up than it is for, say, the general public when they sign up. So I don't know what the general public
Okay. No. Yeah. No. I was just trying just trying to clarify what your experience was there. So anyway, I'll talk to Alan tomorrow. The instructions that are on the page for the registration were put together with his help, so he was comfortable with them. So if we need to clarify anything or reword it or anything like that, that'll be my priority tomorrow to make sure that that's set up and ready to go. So we don't want anybody to be confused, obviously. So the other thing about the event is we get closer, and I spoke with Alan about this, we need to figure out a time, is doing a sort of a run-through rehearsal, if you will. So we don't necessarily have to have everybody there for that, although it would be great if everybody wanted to participate, but we have to do it sometime before the event. So either sometime later this week or obviously no later than Monday. So we need to just get in there, sort of run through that. I sent that updated agenda of how things will, more or less go down during the event to everybody last week. So we just need to sort of run through that, get familiar again with Alan. He's going to be with us through the whole event to sort of guide us, and then, and obviously Natalie will speak and sort of MC, but he'll be there to guide us through the event. And then the other key thing is when we get to the breakout sessions, where we put people into separate groups to speak to some of those questions, to talk about some of those, I think there's 3 questions that we were doing in groups. We may need to get a couple of people to help with moderation. So if there's anybody here tonight that would be happy to serve as moderator, depending on how many people we get, so we don't know. I mean, we might only need a couple of moderators if there's 2 groups. If there's, enough people for 3 or 4, we might need 3 or 4 people to moderate. So basically, you would just be there in your group. Alan would put people in. If you remember when we did the session last time, he would put people in a group with you, and you would essentially go through those questions with them for a period of time, get everybody's feedback on them, and then report back, not on everything, but on one sort of highlight item, if you will, when everybody comes back to the main stage. So if there's anybody right now who wants to jump up and say, hey, I'll be a moderator, that'd be great. So that we can determine with Alan a day and a time to do that rehearsal, either later this week or again, no later than Monday.
I'm just going to stop everybody here for a minute because I'm getting all kinds in the chat session. People are having issues. I'm going to tell Peter and Derek to try logging out and logging back in. You're the ones having, I guess, I'm going to say the biggest issues. I'm having issues too, but if you two could just log out and log back into the meeting and tell me if that makes a difference. And we'll put this meeting on pause for just a few minutes.
I had my hand up, Steve, it's
Yes.
Tanya.
See that?
I don't have any issues, although I will say that Mike did sound very muffled. It was difficult to hear.
Yeah.
So perhaps they're experiencing the same thing. I'm not sure. I did have a question, though, in regards to what he was saying, just for clarity. We as committee members aren't automatically registered. Then it is the expectation that we go in and do the registration process, correct?
Okay, before your question's answered, I'm going to ask you to wait. Is that okay?
Oh, sorry. Yes, for sure.
Everybody gets back in here.
Yeah.
Because I'll say, Mike, like you just said, Mike was really muffled.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mike, you just were.
Sorry, Mike. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on. I guess I just need to speak louder. Does that help?
Okay, I have Peter back.
A little bit.
No, Peter's gone again.
Well,
Okay.
we just won't accuse of it being a bad mic. How's that?
That's a good
I
one.
have Derek here. Derek, are you any better? Okay, I got a thumbs up from Derek. We'll just wait for Peter to log back in, please. This is the joy of technical meetings.
There's Peter.
Right, Peter, how's your sound now?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay. Mike, would you go ahead and answer Tanya's question?
Yeah, so can you hear me at all?
Yep.
Okay. The answer is I'm not sure, Tanya, to be honest with you. I have 3 questions written down for Alan tomorrow morning, and I'll get back to everybody on all of them. I think you may still have to register, but I'll confirm and let you know, okay?
Is it possible for you to reach out to, and I gotta be honest, I don't know his name, but ask?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm going to speak to Alan from the Hoppin team and confirm.
Okay. Mike, I don't know if I interrupted your report. If I did, I apologize. Did you have anything else to add?
I don't think so. I think that pretty much covers it. We just need to, again, determine, I have some questions to get answered by Alan, and then determine a rehearsal time, if you will. And by all means, if anybody has reviewed that agenda for the event and has any questions or comments or issues, by all means, let me know or email me tomorrow or whatever, okay?
Okay.
Sorry,
Question?
Mr. Chair. Sorry, Mr. Chair, it's Natalie. I think if it's possible, because it's hard to get everybody together on an email, can we have a raise of hands of those committee members that want to participate in the mediation? So the group sessions that will be attending that evening. We just need to know a show of hands.
You might have a question as to what that all entails before I raise my hand.
Sit, listen. Sit and listen. And the question, if they have any questions about the question, the content to be discussed, is just to provide them some feedback. So maybe Mike, should we bring up that question now or at the rehearsal session?
Sorry, Natalie, my sound went out for a second. Can you repeat that?
The questions that will be part of the focus groups, should we discuss it right now for clarification so Peter can understand whether he would like to participate as a mediator, or do you want that at the rehearsal?
We can. There's the 3 questions that we're going to do in groups in the group session. I don't have the document pulled up right in front of me.
Can I inquire as to when this rehearsal is?
Yeah, we haven't determined that yet. So the first thing was to see who was willing to be a moderator and then try to set a day and time this week, if possible. Well, it has to be this week or Monday at the latest with Alan to have the rehearsal.
The moderator's pretty general duties. Anybody that likes speaking can do this. But it would have to be somebody that's not leading a focus group. That's my thinking anyway. If I don't lead a focus group, I can moderate, but I can't moderate if I'm leading a focus group.
Yeah, so basically the people who are joining the session will be put into groups. One of us from the committee will just be sitting in, listening, while they talk amongst themselves, and then it's for someone to keep notes, summarize the discussion, and someone will have to then present it back to the greater group. Right. So in the group sessions, it will not be recorded. It's only when you come back into the public session, then the session goes back into record, and that person presents the findings or the conclusions of the group. And it can be someone within the session that wants to speak. It doesn't have to be one of us. to present back to the group. It's whoever's comfortable to do that.
So it's basically like sitting in a group that you would any other time and just taking notes on whatever the questions may be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Natalie, as you mentioned,
We've probably all done this before.
Yeah.
So are we looking for volunteers to do this?
Yes, I think there were some hands that were up. If you can just kindly raise it again, and then we can.
First and foremost, I guess I want to ask the question, is everyone on this committee going to be able to attend the September 21st meeting? Or is there somebody that will not be there?
I'm actually going to be away now, Mike, for work, but I can do it virtually anywhere, right? So I'll do it from my hotel.
It's going to be virtual. So
Yeah.
I know Tracy that week because I know the ACRA meeting is like the day before. Voting is the day before. It's a heavy week. So, as far as I know, everyone here is going to be at that meeting, and what we're looking for is some moderators to sort of stir up conversation. Do we have any hands? One? There's got to be more moderators. There's got to be more people that like to talk than that. There's two.
Tracy was the third.
Is
Yeah,
Tracy a
that's right.
third?
Yeah.
You can stir up conversation, Tracy.
Yes, I can. So if we're a moderator as well, did you say we're doing like a dry run with Alan sometime this week?
That's correct. So now that we know who's willing to do that, I think we just need to have, I'll try to get something set up tomorrow that works for everybody. It might be just have to work it back and forth through email, I guess, if that's okay with everyone. But we'll set up a time. I don't think it's going to take a terribly long time. We just need to sort of run through it. I mean, by all means, everybody's welcome to participate, but we definitely need to have the moderators there just to have a refresher on how he puts people into those groups and how it works. And there's, if you guys look at, Peter, if you were thinking about doing it as well, if you wanted to volunteer, if you look at the document I sent last week, it's called Accessibility Public Public Engagement Event. I think it was an updated version. The questions, everything is in there. So there were two questions that we were going to cover in the group sessions. The first one was, have you been unable to participate in a municipal program or activity due to the venue or surroundings being inaccessible? If yes, please describe in as much detail as possible the situation you are faced with. And the second question is, have you experienced barriers accessing municipal services, buildings, or facilities? If yes, please tell us about those barriers. Examples: obtaining permits, purchasing transit tickets, using transit services, finding information online, accessing information by phone, printed material. So those are the two group session questions we're going to use.
Okay. I will make sure that those that are taking the lead in the private sessions have their questions as early as possible. The questions may change depending upon the invites and the clientele that attend. But as much as possible, I'll make sure you have your questions so that you can sort of think up how you're going to approach it. Tanya has just said she can be moderator. I think that's a great idea. And I will hang around to sort of help, or if another group session needs to happen, then I'll jump in. Is that agreeable with everybody?
Yeah, I think we're in good shape. So if I look at what I wrote down here, I've got Gil, Sherry, Tracy, and Tanya, and Stephen if need be. Does that sound right?
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Mike, do we not need a member of the committee for the closing as well? So I'll maybe walk through the beginning, who's doing what, and then we need someone for the closing, right?
Yes, that would be great. Somebody different than, I mean, Natalie's going to be doing a lot of talking and Stephen as well. Is there anybody who would like to close out? Derek?
If I may, could I suggest Natalie?
Well, I'm doing the beginning part. I just thought we could share the.
Okay.
Well, I just can't think of anybody that's got a better handle on what we're talking about than you.
Okay, I don't mind doing that. I don't mind at all. So we have the opening is Mayor Pam Mood. She's either in person or pre-recorded. Then Stephen will be giving an opening speech as well. And the one thing I'm looking for is whether or not there's a video or a slide from the Accessibility Directorate, because our audience may not know what accessibility means, so we need to frame it. And that would fall under under Stevens as well. And then I would just be going over the agenda for the evening. And then Alan would be taking over to just basically describe the sessions and how it all works technically. And then we basically will start doing the surveys and walking through until the focus group, get people back out of the focus group. So I'll be doing that part. And then ending is just basically thank you, where this information, well, they'll find out about what they said in the final report and where they can go to look for additional information. So it'll be kept pretty simple because people will be tired by then. And anybody along the way, if you change your mind and you'd like to help with the closing, please let Mike and I know. We'd appreciate that.
Okay. I'm just going to throw this in for what it's worth. You would have all received an email, because I did this week, from Mike trying to promote this. I'm not usually a fan of forwarding things on Facebook, but it is what it is. If you've got a message on your Facebook about this, or you can post an invite on your Facebook page or by email or whatever means you have, please do what you can over this next week to promote this. It's only resulted in a little bit, but we'll see. Anyway, any more comments, concerns, thoughts, or ideas? Don't all jump at once. Okay. Back to my notes. I am going to move on to our audit plan. Francois is going to walk us through that.
Perfect. Thank you, Stephen. And I'd like to say thanks to Natalie for mentioning my certification with the CSA for Rick Hansen. It's unfortunately not going to make the process any faster. It just gives me credibility. So if we need to go outside and get audited and list our buildings for accessibility. So just go to give you an update on the Killam Wharf property. We're looking at 30% of the document has been completed for the report, and I got about 95% of the data compiled at this time. So we're looking at the end of September still for completion of the Killam Wharf building for the audit, and then we'll be able to move on to the old YMCA building on Main Street after that. Any questions from the group assembled?
No, I want to say personally, we thank you for all the work that you put in. I'm sorry if I chuckled there. I do know that it's a lot of work, and that's kind of why I said, just because you're certified doesn't make the work any less.
No, it doesn't make any faster, that's for sure. Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, I'll be on the call till the end if there's any more questions, but I think we'll come back at the end there for the subcommittee for audit of parks. So that's all I have for now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on. Accessibility plan update, Natalie.
Sorry, can you see me? Yeah, okay. So as Stephen mentioned, we have a draft outline of the plan. It's just a working document. And what we're doing right now is I'm meeting internally with department heads actually next week to actually start working through that document. So most of the document relates to the work that staff does, whether it's in an employment role, a transportation role, an engineering role, etc. So staff needs to review what are the requirements within the Accessibility Act. So we'll look at policy statements, we'll look at what is the function that we currently have in those departments, and we'll identify those similar to what you saw in the outline in the goods and services. So that's the work that staff will start to look at the document collaboratively, and then I will meet with sub-teams individually. Once I have that, I will bring it back to this committee, and certainly through the subcommittee of this committee, which is Sherry and Stephen, Mike, myself, and Jane. I think that was it, right, Sherry? I think that was the group. And just again for Brian, but we'll bring it back to you in that level of detail. Now, what's really important is from the community consultation, which will be the virtual session, September 22nd, we'll issue the paper copy. So to let you know, the library will be having some of the printed paper copies so that people coming into the library can fill one out and they can drop one back there. NSCC will also have paper copies, but it will only be for their students and staff, not for the public to come into the building to access that. So again, we'll get more input that way. And then obviously, depending on who signs up for the virtual session, that's when this committee will come back and then determine who's missing. And then may want to hold other focus sessions. So once we gather all of that data, along with the data from staff, that's the real work that this committee will start to do, is to review that. So as we summarize it, start to look at compiling the mini video for the council session. So the work will come after that. So I hope that you're not feeling that you're not participating, but let me tell you, the work is yet to come. That your perspective and input will be very valued then. So that's kind of like where we are with the plan. If there are any questions, happy to answer.
I would just add on Natalie's comment, if you feel like you're not participating enough, just hang on for 9B, because we've got just the one for you. Okay, moving on. 9A, again, we've visited this before. Something has happened in our communications. I'm not going to put the whole thing on Sherry because I don't know what happened. But anyway, Sherry will be in contact with you with regards to AAC policy 254. And what that was is just a commitment from you as to how long you would like to serve on this committee and at what capacity, kind of thing. If you get an email from Sherry, please answer it, as she's going to be reaching out one-on-one to try and get everybody on board with how long and just basically the functioning of how this committee works. So please pay attention for her email, respond back as quick as possible. Is that about it, Sherry?
That's about it. You can also jump ahead of me, and if you find the email that I sent immediately after the August meeting, I believe that was the 9th, if you can just reply and let me know if you're interested in a 2-year or a 3-year term, that would be super helpful. And Natalie, I'm not sure, and I thought maybe other members would want to know too, whether that counts, whether the term starts as counting kind of with the first meeting that the committee had, or whether it'll be once terms are set, if you know what I mean.
So Sherry, it's from the first meeting that we had as a committee.
Okay. But yeah,
And
that would be very helpful.
if you're reading through the email and you really don't care if you commit to a 2-year, 3-year, or 4-year, please send an email back stating that, because that's something we can work with.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Stephen,
Yes.
sorry, it's Tanya. I just have a question regarding that. And I wasn't ignoring the email, Sherry. I did receive it. I just, I guess I'm in a little bit of a pickle in that area in that I will be out of the country for 4 months. And I think communication will be very difficult from where I'm at. So I would like to remain a member on the committee. But I guess I wanted to have a private sidebar conversation with you or Stephen in regards to it. Okay. Okay.
I don't know where you're going for 4 months, Dan. You want to take me with you? Especially if it's hot and sunny. Okay, moving on. We are going to 9B on the agenda. Accessibility audit outdoor spaces. If you did not receive a copy of this, please speak up. It's important that everybody reads through this. If you didn't get a copy of it, we'll make sure you do get a copy of it. It's quite lengthy, it's quite wordy, and it's quite extensive. But we need volunteers to start looking at, as we know, Francois has looked at buildings. We need to look at programs, sidewalks, playgrounds, etc. We are looking for a subcommittee to help do that. We may divide this up into subcommittees as far as parking lots, children's programs, and sidewalks go. But right now, what I'm looking for are people that are willing to look at these various aspects. And my thoughts are kind of going 2 ways. There's some of us that have experience with this because of our mobility issues or because of our hearing, or some of us, I'm going to call on Tracy and Sherry here, have experience with regards as far as children's programs goes. I'm going to ask you to think about serving on this subcommittee and looking at these various outdoor spaces that we need to look at. And as Natalie has already mentioned to me, it's not going to be extreme. We're not going to look at every crosswalk or every tree or every blade of grass. But we need somebody to say, okay, we looked at, for example, the skate park. Here's what we recommend. We need a subcommittee to do that. Is that about correct, Natalie?
Correct, but I wouldn't mind if Francois could speak to this. He has some thoughts here, if you don't mind, Francois.
No, thank you, Natalie and Stephen. So what we're looking at basically is following a checklist that's been provided by the provincial government. And anybody with a measuring tape or access to the outdoors can go through, and some of the things we're looking at is how accessible are the entrances to a trail, for example. What's the clear width? Is there room for passing, 2 wheelchairs meeting one another on a path? What's the grade of the path itself? What's the surface of it, right? So this is not anything that you need to imagine. it just needs, for lack of a better word, manpower or person power to go with the checklist, to go through and verify on a rating aspect each feature element, like we've talked about in the past about the first audits that we've done here. So it's the eye of a person evaluating, using a critical eye, if I can say, the features in a park or in a trail. And that way, that report is given, same as the audit that I've been compiling with also other team members on the committee here. And it gives you a baseline of what's good and what could be improved to get even better. Does that make sense? Yeah. So just to add, I'm not trying to shrug off the responsibilities, but it's fairly intensive to do the buildings. And if we can get a couple of individuals that could at different time, get together and maybe, start chewing on those trails, I'm still available for references. I'm still more than willing to help to, use and find the proper tools, the applications on your phone that give you a level, for example, that indicates the level of a slope or the angle of a slope. I'm not sloughing everything off to somebody else to do it instead of me. I just need a little bit of maybe cooperation to increase or improve our reach for the audits, if that makes sense.
Just to summarize here, Francois will have final authority here, but he needs help. So I'm going to put forth the question, who is willing here to help with audits? Raise a hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Derek,
Just a question around the time frame on that, Steve.
When are you due to leave approximately?
Oh, I'm just thinking, are we going to take advantage of our lovely fall and do it while it's nice, or do we want to think about accessibility at different times of the year, like seasonally? Are those things that we need to take into consideration? So that was just my question. Yeah.
Peter just popped up here before snow, and he's right. Definitely when it comes to doing the bus audit, we need to look at that through a bad winter day. Francois, can you provide some input on that?
Absolutely. So weather is very important in this respect. But having said that, there's also other checkpoints that can be verified or measured or quantified when it's the width of a trail, for example. Unless it's completely covered with snow and you can't access the area, it's still doable when there's a little bit of weather. Having said that, it's much nicer to be outside in a nice sunny day than being out there in a blizzard or a windstorm, for sure. So what we had worked originally once I came on board is to try to have at least half of our audits done before the end of the year itself, the end of December. So next couple of months could be a really hard push if we could get a couple of dedicated individuals to jump in and to help out. It would definitely advance our schedule and hopefully meet our goals.
I have one more question. Would we be able to do that just individually? We need to partner up or group up? If we can do it individually, and I can.
I'm sorry. I missed half of the question, Sherry. Could you repeat that?
Sure, sorry. I was wondering if this needs to be done in partners or small groups, or if we could do this individually.
Individually works also. It's just that sometimes a couple of people may have a different view or a different look at certain features, but definitely it's not labor intensive physically, so it's something that can be done by an individual. It's just that the outlook may be different, viewed through different set of eyes. So when it's subjective, it may not have the same result at the end.
Right.
That makes sense?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Could that be done with a non-committee member? Like my husband, for example.
Absolutely.
It's funny.
Okay, perfect.
I think Mr. Chair would be better at answering the source of the audit observations, but anybody with conscience of accessibility issues or a person that understands if accessibility limits a person's access to a place, then would be able to also evaluate using the checklist, give an honest input.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt here for a minute. I was quite impressed. Everybody sort of grabbed a hold of those audits. First of all, did anyone not get a copy of the outdoor audit space? It should have been in an email and a PDF form. Is anyone here not get a copy of that?
Do you know how long ago it was sent?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Peter.
Do you know how long ago it was sent?
Yeah, it was sent by online.
But how long ago?
Natalie? Wasn't that long?
Yeah, it was sent last month, but Peter, on the agenda, if you go onto the town's website for tonight's agenda, this item on the agenda has the link to the document, so you can go right from there as well. And as I mentioned, if anybody wants me to print a copy of it, because it is quite a large document to read, it's only really the back portion that's actually the audit checklist. I'd be happy to print some, and you can pick it up from a town hall. So just maybe raise your hands now, and I can just have some copies made, and then you can come and pick it up.
Was it under 9B, Natalie?
Yes, that's correct, Peter. So if you hit that link, it should link you to the website, to the Accessibility Director website, and the document is there.
There's a whole bunch of links. I don't know which one the document is.
Natalie, did you want me to share the document?
Well, what Peter's looking for is the actual document to read. So it's in that email and it's at that link. If you look to the right side of the page, if you scroll down, you'll see outdoor spaces.
So the document that Natalie's talking about is fairly extensive, and it gives you a good idea of how to rate certain features, and it's got checklists and workbooks included in there. It also gives visual examples of, for example, a ramp section should not be no more than 9,000 millimeters or 9 meters, and the width of it. So there's a couple of, I work very well with pictures, so there's all kinds of pictures in there to facilitate the evaluation of the different features, same as the wall railing or post railings for handrails, for example. And it's all in the document there.
Just to add to it, if you have seen this document, you'll notice that it's quite in depth, and you will need it to do your checklist. Natalie's going to pull it up here. If for some reason your printer cannot print a copy of it, please let Sherry know, and we will see to it that you get some copies of it or whatever is needed. I know sometimes I found that it has to be printed better on a long page, and I didn't have any long paper, so mine's all coming out all kind of funny. But if that's the case with you, you can't print it out, please get in touch with us and we'll make sure that you get a copy of it. Also, pretty much everybody agreed to do some of the audits. So we will, I will meet with Natalie sometime next week, and we will look at dividing up the audits and what needs to be audited. And so that not everybody is running to the same location, we'll divide up the locations and look at it that way. If there's something that you do not want to audit, please email Sherry and tell her. If there's something that you would prefer to audit, again, please email Sherry and tell her. I know some people, and I'm going to go out here, Peter and Lori would be better with handicap parking spaces. And I'm going to say maybe Tracy and I would be better with, say, children's playgrounds and stuff. And I'm just spitballing here because I know these situations. But again, if there's something you would prefer to audit, please email Sherry. And again, if you would not email Sherry, but we will email you a list of who we would like to do what. Okay? Perfect. And Peter has just put up, yep, thank you, Peter. If you go into the chat session on Teams, Peter has just popped up the guidelines for that. And if you haven't read it yet, or don't know where you put it, like me, take a minute and take a look at that. It's pretty good. Also, if, like I said before, if you do need copies, let us know. If you've completed your audit after the fact and you want to get that copy to us, and you can't scan it in or anything like that, again, reach out, let us know. We'll help you out. Any more thoughts, concerns, ideas? Quiet bunch tonight. Okay, believe it or not, we've reached the end. Our next meeting, Sherry, when is our next meeting? General meeting?
It would be the first Monday of October. But Natalie sent out an email earlier today, I think it was, that the town staff now have the option to work a 4-day week. So Mondays will not work for some staff who aren't working on the Monday. So she was wondering if meetings could happen either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday instead of doing them on Monday evenings.
Yeah,
So,
I put that down here too. I always get a little hesitant when I start moving meetings because you start messing with everybody's schedule. I know if you're asking me, looking at the agenda, if you ask me to work Wednesday or ask me to be here on a Wednesday or Thursday, that's not going to happen because I pretty much work every second Thursday and every Wednesday. I am open on Mondays. I am open all Tuesday evenings. So before I make any suggestions, I'm just going to open this up to discussions. Is Monday, one Monday a month, working for you? Would you like to move it to something else? Where's everybody at?
I see that Tanya said that Tuesdays work for her, and they also work for me if Monday's not an option.
How does everybody
Tuesday's good.
else feel about Tuesdays or Mondays?
Tuesday.
Sherry, I got Sherry's okay with either Mondays or Tuesdays. Tracy, all I got was a thumbs up, but I'm not sure what that meant. Sorry.
Same, Tuesdays are fine for me.
Yep. So I got an okay on Tuesdays. Is anybody against moving it to Tuesdays?
Just generally Tuesdays are good, except that I do have regularly scheduled PAC meetings on Tuesday evenings, so I'd like to try to avoid those. So it would just be a matter of which Tuesday.
So if
Right.
we kept it the first week of the month, just moved it one night ahead, would that work for everyone?
Sherry, I think PAC is the first Tuesday night of the month.
Generally, I think it is, yes.
Yeah, that one we can't move, that
Okay.
schedule. So what about the second Tuesday in each month? Does that work for everybody?
The second Tuesday of the month. Is that okay for everybody?
Yes.
That works for me. And I heard Lori say yes.
Yep.
This
I
feels
have-
easy.
Okay, the only one I'm waiting on are Derek, Lori, and Tracy.
I have a conflict for October for the second Tuesday,
Okay,
just because it's already booked.
I don't know where Derek is. I lost him.
He put in the chat, yes.
Okay.
Sherry, we just need to have a reach out to Jane, and I think Jane's the only one that's not on the call
Yeah.
tonight.
I will do that. So we'll tentatively or confirmedly say the second Tuesday of the month.
Okay, well, we'll put that on hold. Expect that it'll be the second Tuesday of the month, but we'll wait and hear from Jane. Is everybody good with that? Okay, before we wrap up. Oh, excuse me here. You'll be hearing from us a lot this week, especially in regards to practice sessions for the upcoming public input session. As far as outdoor space and audits, keep an eye on your email because we'll be coming at you hard and heavy. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. I do thank all of you for your contribution ahead of time for the coming Tuesday night. Is that right? 21st? Is that a Tuesday night? Yes. Okay. For all of those of you that are going to be there, which I'm guessing is everybody, I thank you for your contribution. I thank you for your contribution tonight. We've done a lot of work in a little bit of time, and there's more yet to even come. Other than that, the next meeting, Sherry will email you to confirm. If you have any questions, concerns, please let us know. Until the next meet or until the 21st or our practice session, I will say goodbye and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.